Hello friends, today is very much so an episode of Annie Off the Cuff. I am walking you through some changes and modifications and just really the process in coming back and modifying my training in a recent back injury. We will go into my past injury history as well as what program I'm currently following, steps that I took, progressions that I used, all the good things. So let's dive in. If you are new here, I am Annie Miller. I am a strength and conditioning specialist, and I help you learn as you train and enjoy your lifts again without having to figure it out for yourself. For some background, I have herniated my L4, L5, S1 multiple times to multiple degrees. I have come back from all of those successfully with my training being pain-free. That is over the course of the last 15 years. Significant I would even consider like acute injuries significant in that they were debilitating. I can count on one hand the amount of times that has happened in those 15 years, but that is still experience in knowing what to do in meeting with professionals, so on and so forth. So this is not new to me, number one. And number two, again, I have rehabbed this before, using training, using movement, very much so in a way that allows me to get back under the barbell and gives me efficacy in my process, not feeling like it's a perma injury. It's never going to go away. I have to avoid X, Y, and Z injuries forever. Now, massive disclaimer here. This is not medical advice. I am not a physical therapist. I am not telling you what to do. You need to consult with your doctors, trainers, professionals in the medical field. If you are dealing with an injury, you need to seek outside help for that. This is strictly an informational video sharing my own experience, okay? As far as my training goes, I am currently 7 months postpartum at the time of recording this video. I'm not sure when it's gonna come out. I have been following Built by Annie Premium 1, just the weightlifting portion, so 4 days per week. I'm not doing the 5th day, which is cardio and joint care. And I was in phase 3. So that's, 3.5 months I've been following that. For 12 to 16 weeks postpartum, I followed SD Evolution's postpartum program specifically for C-section recovery. So that's where I was. I was in phase 3, so month 3 of Built by Annie Premium 1. I got to phase 3, absolutely loving it. If you're on my email list, you know how much I loved phase 3. Currently love phase 3 because I'm still in it. But it really does progress really well off of phase 1 and phase 2. So you just feel more proficient. I was finally able to push movements. There's less movements pushing them harder in comparison to the first 2 phases. So I got through my deadlift day in week 2 of phase 3. Deadlifts in the past have been problematic, mainly because I push them and my load exceeds my capacity and I'm not patient enough, and so I get a flare up. It's me, I'm the problem. So I'm in week 2. I pushed the entire lift. I pushed deadlifts, I pushed my front squats. We also had back extension for glutes, which I use our Rogue Donkey GHD machine for that and do hyper extensions, but glute focused. It honestly felt so good, and I love a front squat paired with a glute ham exercise of some kind. It just feels right. It's such a good marriage, and that is anecdotal, but if you've ever done a hamstring exercise paired with a front squat, it just feels good. It feels like they should be together. And so honestly, I felt great in the lift. I pushed myself, I used higher weights on everything, but that was because I felt good, right? It's not like I was pushing it and in pain. That would be stupid. Not that I haven't done that before. At the end of the lift, I was like, great. I went and worked for 3 hours, sitting in a chair in my office, probably with shit posture. I stood up and was like, I am injured. I have gotten injured somehow. Painful to walk, painful to sit down, painful to lay down, painful to breathe, move, extreme limited range of motion. I got down and tried to do a cat camel and was like, oh, I done fucked up my back. This is not good. So I was very scared for 2 reasons. Flight panic. I was like, I can't lift my kids. That is what's not happening here. I have a 7-month-old and a 20-month-old at the time of this video, and I lift them throughout the day. And I was like, that's not on the table. That's what's not happening. So that sucked. Obviously you go through like, how long is this gonna last? How bad is this injury? It could just be acute, and this could be a really, really aggressive flare-up, but in 3 days it could come down massively, or like, have I actually injured myself? Luckily, I have done both of those things, so I knew what to look for. I ended up being in so much pain and needing to function that I took an oxy that I had from my C-section recovery. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. The nausea, the spinning, the every side effect you can think of was worse than having the back pain. Nate was like laughing at me. I was like, this, how do people take this? I does not compute, do not understand. It's a no for me. So anyway, that it did help with the back pain for like maybe an hour or two. And then I was just like waiting for the side effects of the drug to wear off. Not doing that again. But that is just to say that the pain was that bad. I couldn't function and I was like, I need to be able to function. Like I need something to take this pain away. But also with back pain, I really don't like to take medication. Again, this is totally a me thing because I want to feel what's going on. I don't want to mask that pain and then be doing something that is actually perpetuating the pain and making it worse down the road. That's what we don't want. So this was a one-time thing that will not be happening again. The point being, I can train 4 weeks later, I'm back to normal training. So how did I do that? What changes did I make? Day by day, kind of what was my process? Days 1 to 5 were obviously the worst pain-wise, lack of mobility. I did nothing. And I would assess my range of motion in the morning and in the night, sometimes throughout the day, but I'm not pushing my cat-cow. I'm literally just seeing what my range is to where does the pain happen? Where is my threshold? Is it staying the same? Is it getting smaller? Is it getting bigger? Just to assess that. I am not stretching. I'm not attempting to push anything. The goal in that first 5 days for me is to make my body feel safe. That doesn't mean I'm not moving. I am honestly on my feet more than anything because sitting was wildly uncomfortable. It felt so unsafe. My spine just felt like it was balancing on itself or like it was gonna pop. Not a good thing. Laying down was also uncomfortable unless I was on a heat pack. So heat was actually the number one thing and always has been for me that makes like a massive difference in how I feel. So my goal throughout the day was to like get on the heat pack as much as I could throughout the day and stay on my feet, stay walking, stay moving, but not stressing anything, not doing any kind of exercise. That was days 1 to 5. So I knew by day 5, I could increase my daily activity. So I am not working out, but I'm, getting my kids from a lunge position. I'm still not probably hinging over at this point or going into spinal flexion. I did some mobility, more like honestly pelvic floor work, breathing, some core work, just to see how things felt. I wasn't doing anything with the hips. That was days 5 to 10. So I did some mobility work, but no lifting yet. So we're 10 days in, no lifting. Days 1 to 5 was literally just rest, make the body feel safe. Then once the body felt safe, I integrated that mobility. So we're just seeing like, what is the range? How tight do the muscles feel? This for me, again, I'm not a physical therapist, I'm not a doctor, take this with a grain of salt. For me, introducing mobility is like saying, how tight are my muscles? Because oftentimes, with me anyway, that's kind of like the progression of the injury. So the actual very localized pain happens first around the spine, and then it leaves the spine, and then the muscles around are just like intensely tight. They just hold tension like crazy. So that's kind of what I was assessing in those days 5 to 10 was that mobility. How tight do things feel? Okay, let's press into that and just again let the body know we can do that and that's safe. That is always the goal, to get that sympathetic nervous system to chill the fuck out. Now we're in week 2. Week 2, I call them postnatal style lifts. It's less than a deload for me. So I am not doing any of my main lifts. I am not even doing my accessory exercises. I basically just put together like 3 exercises that kind of mimicked my normal accessory work, but they weren't loaded. That's why I say like less than a deload. This is week 2. Started lifting, but we're not under load. I'm just doing more actual exercises beyond mobility. And then I got into week 3. That is when I did like all of my accessory work from the lift. And that was mainly to do the accessory work and then assess, okay, let's see how I feel the next day. And it was good. I felt great. Like, yes, there was some tension in the low back, but I felt good. It was totally fine. So then in week 4, I reintroduced my main lifts and the accessory work. And that's where I am now recording this video. And I just monitored pain and aggravation through all of those progressions. For me, I know that movement is medicine for my particular injury, my injury past, if you will, especially with the disc herniation. I know that, movement is medicine. When I have an acute flare-up like this, which again, to me, it wasn't even the lift. I feel like if I did that lift and I kept walking and like stayed active throughout the day, I don't think this would have happened, or it would have happened to a very, a much smaller degree than me doing the lift and then probably sitting with terrible posture, spinal flexion, just like this for 3 straight hours and then stood up. And it was just, I think that combination that was not ideal. So I can't say for sure, but that is kind of my comeback to where I am now. With those main lifts, it was a deload of the main lifts. So I did not use the weights that I was normally using, but I was still pushing. So on my belt squats, like I only was using 25 pounds less than what I was using previously. Now that's not an axial loaded movement. The barbell is not on my spine. It's not on my axial skeleton, which is your skull and vertebrae down to your coccyx, in the bottom of your hips, basically. So that was not loaded, which is lovely. And I do feel that that is helping build confidence, choosing exercises that allow me to push myself and are still safe for my body and, you know, mimic what's supposed to be happening. Now, I opted for RDLs instead of deadlifts, conventional deadlifts. I do still want to deadlift, of course. And for me, it's just lowering the load, going back down. I was golden. I was golden before I pushed the load. That doesn't mean that I won't eventually push the load. It could be that I increased the load on the deadlift and the squat and the GHDs. It may be just the compounding effect of all of that versus just if I would have upped the weight on the deadlifts and then maintained on those other exercises, perhaps that would have been better. It's hard to know, but I am still lifting, I'm moving forward, and I just wanted to give this as an example of having an injury and just continuing to move forward, because more often than not, I really do think that that can happen, and I have had a slew of injuries in my day, and being able to train through them, with them, around them, I think is really important. And being able to do that once just lets you know that the next time you do have a hiccup or a speed bump in the road when it comes to injuries, because that is a risk we take with lifting weights, that it just builds that confidence to know the next time, okay, this isn't gonna like floor me. I'm not gonna, or bench me forever. Like this is an acute injury, meaning that it is very short term and intense, but give it some time, work with it, work around it, and you'll be right back to where you were. So, or you can be. I am still adding heat to my back on a daily basis, and I am doing sciatic nerve flossing because for me, with my back, like I said, it's localized down the spine first, the pain, then it moves to the muscles, and then often for, 3+ weeks up to 8 weeks, I can tend to have kind of some sporadic sciatic nerve issues, and the sciatic nerve flossing just is one of my go-tos that is wildly helpful. And I'll just plop down and do that a few times throughout the day, definitely around exercise. If you do have any questions, drop them below. Be respectful as always. I hope that this was, if anything, just solidarity for you if you've ever had an injury, hope for you if you are in the middle of an injury. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you ever come back from an injury? Have you ever had a back injury? What has your experience been with that? I would love to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.